Hi, welcome back to my channel. This is Psychic Medium Raymond Guzman, and today I'm going to be doing a YouTube podcast video on relationships and cheaters, and the vibe doesn't lie. Basically, I'm going to be elaborating and expanding how this ties in to spirituality, to your intuition, and why do people cheat. And, being a psychic medium, this is one of the most pressing questions that I get asked the most from a lot of clients all over the world who are already in an existing relationship, but for some reason or another at the soul level, they feel that there's something not right, but they want to have some validation from a psychic medium to get, some confirmation, what is going on. And sometimes, this is a good thing because some people just need that validation to have a peace of mind, or just to match up, what they were originally feeling or thinking as well. Now, the big question when I am going into this, that a lot of people have is, why do people cheat? Why are people unfaithful to one another? And the reason for that, again, it boils down to several factors. One of them could be that this is a karmic lesson. Now, karmic lessons are lessons that are repeating from a past life in our current life. We tend to bring these karmic lessons with us into this physical world when we are born. Now, why, what is a karmic lesson? It's basically baggage that you would have had, spiritual baggage from a previous past life. So I'm going to give you an example. Susan is just a random name. I'm giving this as an example. Susan, was in the 1500s, and during that time period, she was in a relationship, but she cheated on her partner at the time, and the partner became very heartbroken, love struck, and he committed suicide. The fact is that she contributed to that situation, and she was unfaithful. And then later on, she passed away, and her soul went back to the spirit realm, and then she was reincarnated into the world, to the current life that she's living now. Okay, so she had karmic lessons, and I think a lot of people who may be listening to this podcast may want to understand, well, why didn't this, when her soul returned to the past life, and returned to the spirit realm, why didn't she have that, karmic lesson, addressed there before being reborn? Why can't we, make amends while we are there in spirit and not have to, relive or experience any kind of repercussions into our current life? And the reason for that is because when we are in spirit, we return to spirit form on the other side, we do actually work on those karmic lessons while we're there. But the karmic lessons are tied to a physical body when we're born into a physical body on Earth. And since it happened on Earth, it's only logical that the karmic lesson would have to return back to an earthly state when our soul is in a physical body. So this is one of the reasons. So we're still working part of that karmic lesson on the spirit realm, and the spiritual side, and then we're working the other half that we need to still learn here in the physical world. Now, the fact that Susan had this experience now in her waking life, she is someone who is having a lot of problems in relationships. She goes in and out of relationships with, several guys that she's been in the course of a 10-year span. This is just an example again. And in each relationship, the guy is cheating on her, and she ends it. Now that the roles are reversed and they're flipped, she's not the one that's cheating on anyone. They are cheating on her, and she's trying to figure out why does she attract these people? Why is it constantly a pattern, the same pattern? And that's what I'm telling people when I read for people and I see it at the soul level, or I see, patterns that are going on. You have to look at what is repeating. What is the cycle that is repeating over and over and over? This is not just the universe speaking to you on a greater level and trying to tell you that, oh, there's something that is it's just going on, it's just a coincidence, or oh, she just has a poor choice in men. That's not what's going on. What's going on is that it's a cycle, it's repeating, and the fact that it's repeating is because she hasn't mastered that karmic lesson. So the next question that a lot of people have, when I read for them is, well, how do I break that cycle? How do I address that karmic lesson? here in the physical world? Well, there's several things that you can do. The first thing that you can do is go through hypnosis, or past life regression, or even get a past life reading. These are going to uncover exactly what are the patterns, the karmic patterns that you have. Not necessarily, it may cover everything, but it will cover most of the things that, are repeating, or things that we see, from past lives. It also will bring healing to the person, so that way they can recognize those signs that those repeating signs that are happening in their life, to avoid them. Other thing also is practicing a lot of self-love. A lot of people like Susan, who are going through these rough periods in their relationships and going through the same thing over and over, to a certain point they have allowed themselves to keep experiencing this, either self-talk, or negative self-talk, or feeling like they're guilty or contributing to this person being unfaithful to them. It's almost like if you're dealing with a narcissistic person, you are sometimes almost like brainwashed or programmed or conditioned to believe, start believing at many times that you are the one that's responsible, and that's the reason that they are cheating on you. It's a lot of mind games and manipulation. But the fact is that a lot of this is karmic lessons. So like for Susan, an example, it could be, that she is attracting, or this darker energies that vibrate on the same level and have the same karmic ties or karmic lessons as she does. So at the same time as she's learning that karmic lesson and mastering that here in the physical world, those people that she would be in a relationship with that are hurting her, also are somehow, tied into that same karmic vibration and lesson. So essentially, it's all interconnected. Now, the fact is that when they are going through, this, what Susan would need to do is to look for the trust her vibe and her intuition. Like I've said before, we all have a certain level of intuition. If she's attracting someone who she knows right off the bat has cheated on their partner, but she sees past that because she wants to see the good in that person, what are the chances that he's going to do the same thing to her? Well, they're very high if you think about it. So, a lot of times if we trust our intuition and we look for certain red flags, you can avoid a lot of these painful karmic lessons from repeating over and over and break the cycle. Sometimes people will say, well, you're going into a relationship, you really don't know a person. They don't always show their true colors at first. That is true, but energy doesn't lie. And when you are with a person, you can look deeply into the eyes, which are the windows to the soul, and you can tell more or less the vibe that you get from them and how they are talking to you and communicating with you. She could be attracting a person that has dependencies, and this person is an alcoholic, and all her partners have been alcoholics, but she still gravitates for some reason towards that person. If she would break that cycle of going with someone, she knew immediately that that person's an alcoholic. That's not something that she wants to have in her vibration. She doesn't want that in her life, because she doesn't drink. So why would she align herself with a person that has that dependency? And it's not, those of you that would be listening to this podcast, it's not that we're judging another person, but it's recognizing the karmic lessons and the cycles and breaking those cycles, so that way it doesn't continue to occur. Also, let's say that Susan had in a past life she cheated, right? And all of this is going on in the past life. Now in the waking life, she goes through relationships where the person just walks away, but they're faithful to her, but she's the one that's cheating, or she's gotten with someone who has cheated with her but is still married. Okay, so I see a lot of this also where the couple, this person like Susan, may be in a relationship with a person who is still committed to another person. If you know right and wrong, that is where our free will comes into play. You are creating bad karma for yourself, knowingly going into a relationship where you know the person is already with another person, but yet you decide to go into a relationship with them, and even though they, that person may say that their marriage is in shambles and they're not happy, and all this that's going on, but the fact is that they're still committed to another person, and you openly and knowingly are taking it upon yourself to go into that relationship and not respect that person, the other person's relationship that they have currently going on, and most of all, respecting yourself and knowing your own self-worth. This creates bad karma, and this creates a lot of, problems in relationships to be occurring over and over and over again in this lifetime, and also in the next couple of lifetimes, if you don't master it while you're here in the physical world right now with the life that you're living. So, two wrongs don't make a right. We are always held accountable at the soul level for anything that we do here while we're here on earth. And that is where the karmic lessons come into play, and the karmic baggage. Other factors that can contribute to relationships, and falling apart or not working together, is going to be the dimensions that the people are currently vibrating on, or currently consciously, vibrating on. A lot of people are still stuck in the third dimension of consciousness, in the 3D, thinking in 3D. Consciousness is basically your awareness of right and wrong, and what we are here on earth to do. People that are still stuck in the 3D vibration don't typically, see anything other than what they've been conditioned by religion, or conditioned by their parents to, think, or things that they've seen in their own personal families, that repeat over and over and over. That's a 3D thinking. And typically when you have someone who's in a 3D and another person who's vibrating, your partner that's vibrating at the 4D or 5D level state of consciousness, there's going to be a mismatch, and it's almost like being on a seesaw, and you're at the top and they're at the bottom. And if you go in between, you have to kind of be equal, and the only way to be equal is if that other person raises their vibration, raises that seesaw to go up. And I'm using this as an analogy, kind of like an example, to give you a picture of what I'm talking about. So if that person is still stuck in a 3D state of consciousness and is not elevating up to meet you at your vibration, which is way up there, and matches you where the seesaw is even, then again, there's going to be problems that occur in the relationships, disagreements, arguments, people turning away. A lot of these things, these relationships that involve cheating, or they just don't work out, and it turns into something very volatile, where there was once love and it shifts. It has to do a lot with the 3D mentality, with karmic baggages, but it also has to tie into your soul level in your contract. A lot of people are with certain individuals who are in your life, and this is pre-written before you were even born. You agreed to it for a specific reason. So these people are in your life for a specific reason, a season, or a lesson. And either you learn the lesson and you don't repeat it and they go away. People that are in your life for a lesson, it's usually karmic in nature, but sometimes it's also just to grow here solidly in your physical, on your spiritual path. So they'll just go away. If they're in your life for a reason, that reason could be that you need healing, or there's something that they are going to teach you, but just being with you. If they're in your life for a season, they're there temporarily. They come in, there's something again that they have to teach you, something that you're going to be there's a reason that they need something from you, you need something from them. There could be a mutual healing situation, and you eventually part ways. So this is another reason why a lot of people resort to cheating, and or they just separate. They separate from them. And I have a lot of clients that come to me and they want to know if their partner is cheating on them, or what I see with them. And a lot of these people that are coming, to psychics, that go to psychics, a lot of clients, they're coming already with something in their soul, at the soul level, that is speaking to them at a greater frequency, that somehow they may feel like a gut instinct that something is not right and something is just off. And the reason for this would be that it's their intuition speaking to them. Now, a lot of people need to understand what's the difference between paranoia and intuition speaking to you. Paranoia is something that's temporary. You could be paranoid about, them cheating, but you somehow, somebody, you see something that validates that perhaps they're not, or you receive some reassurance, and then that feeling goes away, and it's not something that's constantly repeating or, resonating in your head and at the mental level and the soul level. Now, that's paranoia. How do you distinguish between the two? That's paranoia. Intuition talking to you is a feeling or a vibe, an energy that does not go away. Even if they talk to you or you see something in the back of your mind and in the pit of your stomach, in your body, somewhere in your body at the soul level, you're going to be feeling this awful feeling that something is just not right. And more or less, like, people will refer to this, a lot of women will refer to this as woman's intuition, um, but it's not just women. These are, there's a lot of male clients that I have. Trust me, believe it or not, a lot of males are being cheated on by their female partners, and it's ridiculous, that beautiful souls out in the world have to go through this. So my heart goes out to each and every one of you that are listening into this podcast and are going through difficult times. Just know that it's going to be okay, that you have to have a lot of self-love for yourself and know your worth and know what you are willing to accept, and not allow them to treat you any way less than what you deserve. And if you can recognize those cycles and recognize these patterns that are continuing, you can avoid a lot of this. But, going back to what I was saying about, the clients that come to psychics and more or less they already know that their partner is cheating, but they just want validation. Then you have some people that are clients that, they come to the psychic, they get the information, and they're still in denial. And that's what, I try to use my best to give them irrefutable proof, give them validations of what I see. And I've had, if you read my testimonials on my website, I've had a lot of people, come back to me later on, say that, everything that I've told them about their partner cheating came to pass maybe at a little bit later time. Like I said, timelines, when we give timelines, of things that we see, it may not necessarily be in that particular time, because your free will can change anything that's, the future is unwritten, so anything can be changed due to your free will. But like I was saying, there's a lot of people that you give them the information and they still don't want to believe it. They still want to, and this is where their free will comes into play. And my job as a spiritual advisor, as a psychic medium, is never to sway the pendulum, never, and I'm using that as an analogy again, I don't use a pendulum, but never to sway them to make a certain decision. I can't tell them, well, you should just leave this person, or you need to, just pack up your bags and go. It's not our job as the psychic mediums or spiritual advisors to interfere with anyone's karma or anyone's life path. We are there to give them the insight that they are asking, or what we see from spirit, whatever spirit wants to deliver that message. But we are not, it's not ethical for us to tell someone that they should do this or they should do that, unless, they are asking you, for the most part, what, your opinion is. Then you can give your opinion on what you think, they should do. Or if you were in that kind of circumstance, in that situation, what would you do? You could position it that way. But I see a lot, because I've been doing this for quite a while, and I see a lot when I go into like free forums, psychic groups, and I see a lot of people telling people, he's a cheater, you should just pack up your things and leave. You don't know all the story, and it's not your job to sit there and judge anyone. We are only giving insight. I don't know about other psychics or mediums or how they, do their readings. Everyone does their readings differently, but my whole thing is to do it from a place of love and give you the insight that I see from spirit. It's going to be ultimately up to you to make the decision. And sometimes the information is not pretty, it's not positive. You could, I've had clients that have had their, they're getting engaged, and she, she comes and she wants to know what is the outlook on, on the relationship. Like, what do I see? And, I'm going to be honest. I'm always going to give you the raw, unfiltered version, exactly as Spirit gives it to me. I'm not someone to sit here and sugarcoat it and just omit that from you. Regardless, if you're coming to a psychic, you deserve the honesty, and you deserve what what you're wanting to receive from Spirit. And who am I to block that from you, from knowing this? And later down the road, you would come back, or you would just be very frustrated, and just be very angry or upset at at your life and your own decisions. But ultimately, we give you insight, and you can use that for your own free will to make the best judgments possible, using that information. But we, for the most part, I only give that insight. And it's up to you to do what you want with that information. A lot of people are in denial. Like I said, they won't believe it, even if you tell them everything that you see. They won't believe it until they actually get validation for themselves, or something does happen. And a lot of those people never come back to the psychic that told them, because they have some level of shame or embarrassment, and there's nothing to be embarrassed about. I'm not someone that laughs in your face and tells you, I told you so. I don't operate like that. That's operating from ego, and from a place of fear-based, and just a lower vibration. So if you are going through this, I know a lot of clients that I've read for have actually received this validation, but they don't want to come through later on and validate that this is exactly what happened. And some do, because it's private, it's personal, it's painful, it may be a memory that they don't want to bring up again. But if you suspect that your partner is cheating, the best thing that I can give you through this podcast is to trust the vibe. Energy does not lie. And if it's something, like I said, that is recurring every single day when you're around this person, and it's a vibe that you just can't seem to erase or get any inner peace at the psyche level, at your higher self, then it most likely that is, you're basically just already answering the question for yourself. Trust it. Cheaters are never going to come out and say, unless, there's some people that will. But if you go ask them, well, I just received a psychic reading from someone and they told me that you were cheating on me. I've had clients come and they tell me, I asked him and he said no. And I know that, it sounds kind of funny, when you listen to that, but if you are dealing with someone who's a cheater, they're not going to confess. 90% of the time, they're not going to come out unless there's some kind of proof, or if you caught them in a lie. But if you just flat out ask them after receiving a reading, they're not going to say, that's like, who does that, right? So, but some people get upset, but you come in wanting to know about your relationship and what we see, but yet you don't want to believe it. And that's where that person is in denial when they're going through that. It takes sometimes hardships and harder lessons to acclimate into their spiritual path. So it's not necessarily that they are just in denial, but basically maybe this was part of their soul contract, and they have to go through this lesson and just be patient until all of this turmoil is passing. And whatever you came out of a relationship, and let's say you had children and it was a marriage and you had children, something good came out of that. It wasn't something that is necessarily a bad thing, because yes, it did go south, the relationship, but at least you created life together, and that person is always going to be an extension or a connection to you from the outside, because of bloodlines and children that are created. So at a certain point, you have to kind of compromise and reach a certain level of maturity, and compromise with that other individual. It may not be pretty, and they may not be willing, but you always should take the higher road when you are dealing with someone. And I know that those of you that are listening may say, well, you don't know my ex, this is not possible, to take the higher road. They bring out the worst in me. But you have to really be the bigger person and come from a place of love to combat and match that person who is showing you negativity. Believe it or not, even if you think that this person, that your ex that you were with, is being so negative, and you have kids in the midst of all of this, and you're just trying to be nice, and you avoid a confrontation and everything, but they still insist on being ugly. The fact that you're showing them love means that you're planting seeds in this person. So even though they may be in denial and they have all this anger, they know deep down your heart and your soul, and they can see that those seeds that you're planting are seeds of wisdom, seeds of love, that that you are not going to compromise your integrity and who you are. And regardless if they don't see it now, down the road they will see it. A lot of these people that are like that with their partners, and they're going through a nasty divorce, or they've separated and now they have joint custody of children, and they're going through this, down the road, a lot of these couples lament the fact that they left their partner, but they won't admit it because of too much pride. But down the road, and they are stuck with somebody else new now that is 10 times worse than what they thought they had. And you were actually a blessing to them, and they come back to realize that, they had something good, but they let it go. They let it slip through their hands. And so this is something, that also can sometimes come through in readings when we are working as psychic mediums, to give information from spirit to the person. So I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I will be doing other topics and covering different things. Like I said, I'm not stopping doing celebrity readings. I'm still going to be doing them, but I want to incorporate new content on my channel. And I hope you do like this and this does resonate. If there's any other spiritual topics that you would like for me to talk about in a podcast format just like this, comment in the comment section below, whether this is twin flames, or this is about soulmates, or about the process of spirit and the spirit realm, angels, demons, whatever you want to hear more about. I'm more than willing to talk about the subject. I feel like there's a lot of education on everybody. Not only am I giving you what I know from spirit, but I'm also learning from a lot of you out there that comment as well. So, I'm not coming from a place of like, thinking I know everything, because I don't. But I am learning, and I'm on this journey, and whatever I've learned, I just want to be like a spiritual teacher and help give that information to a lot of you out there that are my listeners. So I want to thank you so much for being here. If you did like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. Also be sure to follow me on Facebook and Instagram. And if you would like to set up a private reading with me, again, you can go to my website. That's www.raymondguzman.net/shop. And all of these links are listed here on the screen, and they're also going to be listed in the description box below. Have an amazing day. Blessings and love and light.